here today to talk about an RFP, and Beth Stover here is going to take you through the RFP and answer your questions. I wanted also to let you know that in the room we have Victor Santiago, so every once in a while we'll yell at Victor. Victor, wave. Victor will be running the camera, etc. So again, when you have questions and you type them in, Victor will read them so that we'll all be able to hear your questions. Okay, there you go. Beth?
Okay, so welcome. We're going to do a very quick webinar going over the RFP. And my name is Elizabeth Stover. My name is in the RFP as a contact for program information on page, hopefully you have in front of you, as is Victor. Victor and I are, if you have program questions, otherwise our friend Julia Talbot, our colleague, who's not with us today, for technical things, especially regarding the submission, the actual technology associated with the submission of the RFP. That's on page 6. But let's step back a little bit and talk about the Early Learning for Immigrant Families, or ELIF, pilot program that this RFP concerns. It is going to be a pilot for 2 years, and the funding range will be between $50,000 and $75,000 a year for 2 years, as long as the money is available. So 2 buckets of money for each year. The notion behind the immigrant families, the Early Learning for Immigrant Families RFP, is we would like to receive some creative program design proposals about how to reduce barriers for enrollment in early learning programs for immigrant children and families. Reduce barriers towards enrollment, support enrollment, and then also support retention and the engagement of those families in the program. So if you turn to your RFP, and I don't know, Victor, if you want to pull that up, so we can go to page 3. Right down at the bottom of the page 1 and 2. Those are the 2 main goals of this program: to increase the number of immigrant families enrolled in early childhood programming and deepen the engagement of enrolled immigrant families in the program. And so I want to take a step back from that to talk about what our early childhood programs are like. We, and Vanessa, jump in at any time, here at DFSS, at the City of Chicago, we administer and manage the city's Head Start and Early Head Start programming. Early Head Start is for 0 to 3-year-olds, infant families, and pregnant women, and Head Start is for 3 to 5-year-olds, preschool age. We operate these programs. They're federally funded programs. We operate them through a network of 33 delegate agencies, mostly nonprofit, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, and also CPS, which we are distinct from.
And we also partner with child care agencies that are privately owned.
Right, exactly. And then our delegates work with partners in high-need areas to ensure that the highest need children are enrolled. So Head Start and Early Head Start are programs where, to qualify, families need to be below the federal poverty level, at or below the federal poverty level. Head Start and Early Head Start are comprehensive programs that not only cover the education elements of developmental need, but also health elements, socialization elements. It works with families to help them build their security and stability, and help them provide and advocate for their children.
And I think that that's one of the key elements that helps drive the intent of this RFP, is that Head Start starts from looking at where families come from and respecting and their culture and their values. And so really reaching families where they are and making sure that programs reflect those values is very, very key. And we always start with the family. And so those are some of the driving pieces that we want to see reflected that represent themselves out of why we want to do this.
Right. So an important part of Head Start, and when I say Head Start, I mean both early and Head Start, is the parent, family, and community engagement piece. There's a whole built-out program element, program component, which targets that. And so for this program really is part of that program component. So I'm not sure if the RFP refers to it directly, but definitely when you're thinking about this program, if you're not familiar with the performance standards for Head Start or Early Head Start or the Parent, Family, and Community Engagement Framework, we would recommend that you go and you look those up online. You can Google them. But I also have, if Victor wants to type in someplace, the address right there for parent and family engagement. So,
sure.
Right. So that tells you a little bit about our programming. So basically, for this program, we're seeking creative design and creative programs that will help enroll and retain families in Head Start, Early Head Start, and child care for some of our child care only agencies. And we provide Head Start and Early Head Start through 3 program models: center-based, half-day or full-day, family child care homes, licensed family child care homes, and a home-based program, which is kind of like a home visiting program, where the program is delivered through home visits in the family home, and then the family, the parent and child participate in monthly socializations. And there's also another thing to keep in mind is that we do half-day center-based, we do full-day 6 hours, and then we do an extended kind of day when child care, if a family can qualify for both child care and for Head Start, then they might have an 8 or 10-hour day because the family is working. So here's the Head Start Parent, Family, and Community Engagement Framework, which really talks about the goals and objectives of this program component and how it works conceptually within the greater Head Start, Early Head Start vision and mission. And so really the whole idea of connecting families to services, connecting families to Head Start, Early Head Start, to your positive and goal-oriented relationships. You can see how trying to move towards getting families involved, getting the community involved, getting families connected to resources in their community, helping families become lifelong educators, advocates for their children, community leaders, etc., and then all of that being part of the foundation for positive child outcomes, not only during the early years, but also later in life and onward. All right. So can I have my sheet of paper there, Victor?
Yeah.
All right. So we are very open to the design of the program. In a lot of ways, it's an outreach sort of program. But it can be more. Really, we want to see 2 things: enrollment and retention, and engagement of those families in our program. So I think we can turn maybe in the RFP to the bottom of page 3.
That's the RFP.
And because we're open to this program design, and one of the things that we're really looking for in a successful respondent is their ability to demonstrate their knowledge and familiarity with these populations, immigrant populations, and understanding their needs and what it would take to move those families into a really kind of robust engagement with Head Start and Early Head Start. So successful respondents, you can see at the bottom of page 3, will successfully engage immigrant families on many levels support immigrant families' knowledge of and participation in comprehensive early childhood and development programs, and work with early childhood providers, that would be our delegate agencies, throughout the city in facilitating families' access to and participation in early childhood programs. So then the other thing to be kept in mind is we're also looking for a coordinator for the program, so an agency that is one of the, you're going to be providing the services, and then for an additional $10,000 to $15,000 do some of the coordination with the other agencies that'll be receiving this money, coordinating some of the data, coordinating some of the meetings amongst the agencies and us, working closely with us to get in reports and the like. So let's switch to page, well, I'll talk a little bit more about the coordinator in a bit. So page 5, here's some of the kind of nuts and bolts. The anticipation is $50,000 to $75,000 a year. The first year will be May 1st through December 31st. That's sort of not really a full year, but close enough. As many of you may know who already have city contracts, the city funds on a reimbursement basis. So, you know, once the work is done, you voucher, and we
no advance.
There's no advances, yes. We're also expecting a demonstration of a cash or in-kind match of at least 10%. However, the thing to keep in mind is that that can be any kind of money. Because this is city money, it doesn't, for Head Start agencies who may be listening, it doesn't follow the same rules.
Right.
So it can be, you can use federal dollars as match dollars for this money. The eligible respondents would be nonprofits, state-based agencies, public agencies, and we especially would like to see agencies who have experience with immigrant populations. Maybe not, and this is the thing to keep in mind, maybe not every single immigrant population, but you know, there's many different immigrant populations throughout the city, and so we would really like to see diversity within that diversity, if you will. The due date for the application is April 23rd. It's not very long. And then the award letter would go out May 1st, maybe a week after that. Maybe that's a little. But we're kind of on our schedule. If you look at the schedule here on page 7, the proposal release date was the 1st. We kind of hit that pretty close. Here we are on the 7th, the bidders conference. The proposal is due on the 23rd, and the award letters would come out within a week, May 1st. The method for applying, and Julia isn't here to go over some of those details, but it's through the cyber grant system. If you look in the middle of page 6, you can see the linkage for that. Page 6. Yeah, go back. Oh, right there. Yeah. So go on. You go online, and it'll ask you a series of questions, and you just respond to those. Do we want to? Oh, maybe we could pull it up.
Can we click there? Yeah.
See what happens?
There it is.
Please log in. First-time user, create your password. There you go. And then there's a series of questions, and we'll hit them in a second here. Right, the program design. So on page 7, this gives you more details about the sorts of things that we're looking for. Again, there are 4 main elements, right? We want to see four things we'd like to see happen. Increased enrollment among immigrant families. Increased attendance. So once you're enrolled, we'd like you to actually come and participate. Children should come. Then family engagement in the program, and this is participating in the family partnership agreement process, where families can work with family service workers at agencies to try to set goals and reach those goals. Family service workers help families connect to other services, whether it be ESL services, GED services, workforce development development services, housing services, the whole array of services that might be needed to help legal advocacy and the like, although
we don't pay for legal.
This money does not cover legal services. So a linkage agreement with somebody who does, that's definitely something that these families may need. So we'd like to see family engagement in the early childhood programs, which is also like connecting the parents to health services for their children and the like and things like that, and helping them, when the time comes, transition into the public school system or a private school system, whichever. And lastly, the community engagement in early childhood programs, including awareness of programming benefits. One of the ways we can increase engagement and increase enrollment is spreading the understanding of the benefits of being enrolled in these programs. A lot of people don't know what they are. They don't know what goes on in Head Start or early Head Start, and so from the standpoint that knowledge is power, letting them know what's going on and letting them know how it can positively impact their children, their children's future, and the like is one way of engaging the community.
I have a question.
Sure.
I guess me, because questions is saying that how did they get a login and a password?
I think that they go to that site. Do you still have that site up?
Yeah, I can go back.
Yeah, go back to there. So, first-time user, you go to create your password. Do you see that? Okay. Create your password, and then it's going to take you through. So United States, we're in the United States next, and then you'll create it, right? And it looks like, okay, so you need to have your tax ID, right? And then you would make up your password, and so then you would have your password. So you take care of that. You create, the applicant. I don't understand what that question means.
I think they think that they'll get a login and password.
So you go ahead, the applicant, go through here and you create a password, and then you'll have access to the screens, which will ask you particular questions. So I would log on. I would create your password, log on. You can review the questions and print them out, create your answers, cut and paste them back into the screens and submit. I believe that's how it works. If you have any technological questions, Julia Talbot, whose name is in the RFP, is the person you contact. Let's go back to the program design for a second. So those 4 main elements. And then we also want you to demonstrate when you're, so you would demonstrate in the narrative your unique and creative solutions, programming solutions to enrollment, attendance, family engagement, and community engagement. And also we would like to, successful applicants will be able to identify a particular audience, right, a particular group that they're targeting, or groups, whatever the case may be. They should be able to demonstrate an understanding of that community and what their needs are and what the challenges may be for them in enrollment. And so then the design has to address those challenges. We'd really like to see the logical connection about, well, here's the problem and here's how this, we think that this design element is going to address that. As we said, we don't, and lastly, you need to have some familiarity with Head Start and Early Head Start, because this is what you're selling kind of to these families and what you're trying to enroll them and get them engaged in. So I'm switching to page 8. So for the reporting and record keeping, there'll be quarterly reports that'll be submitted to us, but the quarterly reports, what they look like exactly, will be determined by what your program looks like. We'll work with you to determine the scope. If you have a successful application, we'll work with you. We'll set out the scope. We'll put deliverables deliverables with it, and performance measures and output. So it's really, really flexible. We'd really like, you're out there, you're in the community, you understand them better than we do, so we'd like you to really think through this and be creative and use your practical knowledge to create something that's going to work for the families you're familiar with. The other thing to include, there'll be questions about linkage agreements, especially linkage agreements with organizations that can work with kind of families that you're targeting. And as Vanessa said, and I'll say it again, legal services can't be funded through this money, but certainly linkage agreements with legal service providers would be probably beneficial. Okay, page 9, the program Cohort Coordinator. Here's a little brief thing about them. Again, we know that we're going to want to have the cohort of successful respondents meeting. We know we're going to want them to be sharing information about what's working with the communities they're serving. We know that we're going to be having these quarterly reports that are going to have to be together. Let's use a 5-cent word. So the coordinating agency would be responsible for kind of making sure everybody's on point, setting up some of these meetings, ensuring that the data is flowing, kind of getting the reports in, and then and then working with us to figure out to do some analysis of, okay, what's working, what isn't working, and tweaking and things like that over the course of the 2 years. So that's that. So on the bottom of page 9, you can see the evaluation criteria for the RFP, and again, we're looking for creative solutions to these problems that are organic to the communities that you're going to serve, and your own experience with these communities, and some of your own programming. So our selection criteria will be 35 points for a previous program experience and understanding the needs of the population. Just from understanding who they are and where they're at is the first step, and super, super important. And then the second element,
demonstrating what you know what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, is the program design and administration. And here's where we really want to see, what does the design look like? How are you going to address these? What are you going to put in place that are going to help achieve these 4 outcomes? Victor, next week.
We're done to the next area. Yeah. There you go.
Right.
Up there. Program design and administration. Yeah.
So, we want a description of the implementation, the scope, the outcomes. It's going to be, and I think this is the main thing. The program design will be evaluated on how well the activities and strategies address the population needs and barriers of participation, or barriers to participation. The proposals will be evaluated on the expertise and ability of the agency to address the required key elements of the proposed program model and fulfill the required program outcomes. Right. So there's a lot of room for different things to happen in the program, and we're really excited to see what sorts of ideas you have and what kind of design elements you propose. 25 points will be administrative and fiscal capacity.
Excuse me. Yeah.
So you need to demonstrate. There'll be questions about your budget, your funding sources, your fiscal controls, your fiscal management, your accounting system, your line of credit, and the like. And so we'll just want to see that you're fiscally sound and able to have cash flow, sufficient cash flow to operate the program on the reimbursement basis. And then lastly, the budget narrative, 15 points. So it'll ask you for a budget. It'll be simple. It'll be much simpler than like a Head Start budget is. It's going to look more like if you ever apply for CDBG youth programs, the budget's going to look more like that. And then you'll have to include a budget narrative that talks about how the costs were derived, how they're reasonable, allocable, allowable, and the like. So just try to break them down by why the cost is necessary. And that should be good for that. And then the last section here is Section 5, the legal and submittal requirements. And if you've had a contract with the city, this is all very standard boilerplate. The EDS statement, other disclosures that are necessary. Most of that you submit online, either at the time of application or during the contracting process. This is all the legal, so that's all the legal issues. And for questions concerning that, you should definitely contact Julia Talbot if you have any questions. You can go to that for the economic disclosure statement is available at that web address, and you can just download it or fill it out online and submit it, I think, is how it works.
Do you have another question?
How are we defining immigrants?
How are we defining immigrants?
I think that is for you to define, probably. I think we're thinking first or second generation families who are still transitioning or who are, who have barriers, whether it's language, whether it's cultural, whether it's some other legal, that prevents them from engaging with these sorts of programs. So that could be that
they could have been here for a couple of generations,
and
still not.
Right. Taking advantage of some of these sorts of programs that are really here to help them.
Yes, there are communities where barriers exist that culture and tradition, whatever, may keep them from participating.
Yeah.
So it's not just looking at people who arrived yesterday. So we're not talking about a time limit to determine what immigrants.
Right.
No more questions. We're not.
Definitely, if you have, you can feel free to call me. Elizabeth Stover, I'm in there. My information, judging from the list of people, some of you know me. Or Victor, judging from the list of people, you all know Victor too. So, and Julia, if you're having any problems setting up a password, if you're having any problems with the online application, Julia Talbot should be contacted. I don't think they didn't put our phone numbers in there, so if you don't know, my phone number is 312-746-7298. That's me, Beth Stover. And Victor's phone number is
312-743-1089.
Julia's is 312-743-1679. So just to go over, there's a lot of flexibility in the program. And the reporting, it's not going to be like Head Start reporting exactly. That some things make sense. Like if it's going to be like one of the objectives is to increase enrollment, so definitely increasing enrollment is something that you would count.
Yeah, and I know I keep thinking of systems that we have in place that people may not be familiar with. So if you have had a support service contract or something along those lines, your reporting will look much more like that. It will be the plan that you've developed and then reporting against that plan. So we will be working with you so that there'll be a system. If you said these are your objectives that reporting process will fit within that.
And the other thing to keep in mind as well is that we'll help, and the coordinator position will help coordinate with our delegates, right, the 33 delegate agencies, because, you know, you'll be working with families who may be enrolling in different sites or with different agencies, and so there needs to be some sharing of information and the like.
And I think that's probably one of the things that needs to be clarified for everyone. This is a pilot about providing this service for a broader audience than the families that are simply enrolling in your program.
Right, right.
So that might have been a little confusing, I think, when we first started talking about this, that people thought this was going to be a grant for just their program, and we're not looking at that, so we want to see how it's going to be provided for the agencies across the board.
Right. So, I mean, if one aspect of the program is to kind of do a lot of family support, it may be that there's case managers who are working with families who are located at different sites or enrolled in different agencies, depending on where they live or where they work or where their community is and the like, or it helps them connect to, if they're feeling isolated, connect to a particular community, et cetera, et cetera. So again, there's a lot of different ways you can set it up, but I think that especially with some of you all who are familiar with our support service network, where a support service, and this is kind of like a support service contract, even though it's not technically Head Start, it's city money, but they work with many agencies, not just one or two. They, you know, it may be that if you're targeting a certain part of the city, then you would be working in this capacity as a support service provider with the locations that are in that part of the city that has that particular kind of community, cultural community living there, so that would make sense, right?
And as Beth said, we're open to, the idea of this is to get new ideas.
Yes.
We want you to be creative and innovative and all the things that we know that you can do. So we're really thankful for the opportunity to have this money and to be able to do this. So we're looking forward to reviewing your applications and moving forward. With that said, please feel free to contact Beth or Victor. Wave again, Victor. And you can call me. I will probably just tell you to talk to them. But you can call. You can call me. Victor, give them my number. My number is 312-743-1980. Not seeing any more questions at this time. I think we'll go ahead and no other questions from anyone?
No. Well, they know how to reach us if they have any questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Feel free to
Thanks
call.
so much for your time today. Oh, how many grants are you usually getting?
I think 4 or 5
Yeah.
maybe is the amount.
Depends on the amount.
Right.
So
4 or 5 and 1 coordinator. So it may be, so I think that our sense right now is that the coordinator will be one of the agencies, and they'll just have this additional responsibility as well.
kind of a lead agency.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, I don't, the number of awards will be determined by the amount of the awards that are awarded. Does that make sense? We have a pot of money.
Right.
And if we have some that come in less that are really
Right.
great,
Yeah.
vice versa.
Absolutely. Or if somebody wants to target a very specific particular population, and so it's smaller than maybe some other populations and things like that. There's a lot of flexibility there that can be determined when we see what's out there and who's interested and what they have in mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thanks.
everybody. Have a great day.